Welcome back to the deep dive. Estate planning, it
Uh-huh.
can be like hacking through a jungle sometimes.
Right.
Today we're going to try to clear a path, at least when it comes to these irrevocable life insurance trusts.
ILITs.
ILITs, yeah. You sent over this article by Aaron Skloff. He's a financial expert, and
Oh, yeah, he's great.
yeah, and he talks about how ILITs can maybe help with these upcoming estate tax changes and all that.
Right. It's all about making sure your family's taken care of.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so Skloff starts off talking about this, what he calls an estate tax exemption collapse.
Yeah, in 2026.
Yeah, in 2026, right, where it's supposed to drop to like 6.8 million or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for the average person, someone who's not a tax lawyer or whatever, what does that actually mean?
Well, think about it. You work hard, you build up some savings, a home, maybe some investments, and you have life insurance to protect your family, right? But then, boom, the exemption shrinks, and suddenly a big chunk of what you wanted to leave to your kids, that's going to get hit with federal estate taxes.
Ooh.
It's like a surprise bill right when they're already dealing with, losing you.
Yeah, no one wants to deal with that.
Exactly. So that's why people are worried. They don't want their money going to the government instead of their family.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
So that's where Skloff brings up these ILITs, like a way around that tax roadblock.
Yeah, think of it like a detour.
The detour. Okay. So he lays out these 4 steps. You gift money to the ILIT. Then the ILIT uses the money to pay the premiums on a life insurance policy. When you pass away, the death benefit goes to the trust. And then finally, the trust gives the money to your beneficiaries.
Right.
Makes sense so far. But then there's this thing, a Crummey letter. He says it's like super important for everything to work legally.
Yeah, the Crummey letter.
So what's the deal with that?
Well, it's all about the IRS, right? To make those gifts to the ILIT and not get hit with a ton of gift taxes, the people inheriting, the beneficiaries, they need something called a present interest in that money.
Okay.
It's like, imagine giving a gift to a kid. If they can use it right away, even for a little bit, that's present interest. The Crummey letter, it's basically a letter telling the beneficiaries that they have the right to take out the money that was gifted to the ILIT, usually for like 30 days or something.
Oh, interesting.
Most of the time, they don't actually take the money. They let it stay in the trust to keep paying those insurance premiums. But just having that option, that present interest, is what keeps the IRS happy.
So it's like, hey, IRS, see, everyone's got a choice.
Exactly.
Clever. Okay, but Skloff also really pushes this idea that the ILIT itself protects the life insurance money from estate taxes. That seems to be the big thing he's excited about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The really cool thing about the ILIT is that because the trust owns the policy, not you directly when you pass away, that death benefit, it doesn't count as part of your estate.
It just bypasses it all.
It goes straight to your beneficiaries through the trust, no estate tax. Huge advantage, especially with that exemption drop coming up.
Okay, now even I'm starting to see why people like this ILIT thing. Seems pretty powerful. But, there's got to be some downsides, right? Anything folks should be careful about if they're thinking about setting one up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's why it's so important to plan this out carefully. The biggie is, remember, it's irrevocable.
Irrevocable, yeah.
Once you set it up, it's really hard to change. Basically, you're giving up control over whatever you put into it, including that life insurance policy.
No takebacks.
Nope. Once you launch that rocket, it's gone.
So you really got to be sure about your long-term plans.
Exactly. Think about who you want to inherit, what your financial goals are, what might change in your life.
Right.
What if your money situation changes drastically? What if your family dynamics change? You got to think about all that up front because you're making decisions that are meant to last a long time,
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's why it's crucial to work with people who know what they're doing, like a financial advisor or an estate planning lawyer.
Professionals.
Yeah, they can help you make sure the ILIT is set up in a way that really works for you both now and in the future.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's all about getting it right from the start.
Right, you don't want to mess this up.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've established that ILITs can be pretty powerful tools, especially if you're worried about estate taxes.
Yeah, they can be.
But I'm curious, are there ever situations where maybe an ILIT isn't the best way to go?
That's a great question, and it shows why it's so important to get that personalized advice we keep talking about.
Right.
An ILIT, it's not one size fits all, For example, let's say your estate's probably going to be under that estate tax exemption limit anyway. An ILIT might be way too complicated for what you need. You're adding a bunch of hassle without really getting much benefit.
So if you're not worried about those big state taxes, an ILIT might be more trouble than it's worth.
Exactly. And there's other things to think about too, like what if you need to use the cash value of your life insurance policy later on? An ILIT might not be the best choice there because remember, it's irrevocable.
Oh, right, right.
Once it's in the trust, it's basically locked in there.
So you really have to be sure about your strategy before doing this whole ILIT thing.
Yeah, you have to weigh the pros and cons based on your own situation and goals. That's why having a good financial advisor, someone who knows their stuff, is so important. They can help you figure out what you need, understand the trade-offs, and guide you toward the best strategy for you.
So it sounds like there might be other ways to deal with estate taxes. What are some of those?
Well, one common strategy is giving gifts while you're still alive.
Oh, yeah, like gifting to your kids or something.
Exactly. There are limits to how much you can gift each year without paying gift tax, so you can strategically give away parts of your estate over time and lower the amount that gets taxed later.
Kind of like chipping away at it.
Yeah, exactly. And there are other types of trusts that can be useful for estate planning, like revocable living trusts.
Revocable.
Yeah, unlike ILITs, these trusts let you keep control of the assets and make changes if you need to. They can be good for managing assets during your life and making sure things pass smoothly to your beneficiaries when the time comes.
Interesting. So there are more options than just this ILIT thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's a whole bunch of estate planning tools out there.
Like a whole toolkit.
Exactly. And the best approach is usually to combine different strategies custom made for your situation. That's why having those expert advisors is so important. They can walk you through the options and help you create a plan that really fits your needs.
So an ILIT might be one part of the plan, but it's not necessarily the whole thing.
Right. It's about looking at your whole estate and planning for everything. An ILIT might be great for minimizing estate taxes, but it needs to be part of a bigger strategy that takes care of all your financial goals and what you want to leave behind.
So knowledge is power when it comes to estate planning. The more you know, the better decisions you can make to protect your stuff and take care of your family.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so let's say someone's listening to this and they're thinking, an ILIT might be worth looking into. What's the first step they should take?
The most important thing is to get a team of people you trust, your financial A-team.
Like a financial dream team.
Exactly. You want a financial advisor who really understands estate planning, an estate planning lawyer to handle all the legal stuff, and maybe even a tax specialist if things are really complicated.
Okay, so getting the right people in your corner.
Yeah, these experts can work together to figure out your whole financial situation, understand what you want to achieve, and decide if an ILIT is right for you.
So it's about getting personalized advice, not just trying to figure it out on your own.
Exactly. You want a team who can look at your specific situation, see potential problems, and make a plan just for you.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's all about having the right people on your side guiding you through the process.
Right, because this stuff can get complicated.
Yeah, estate planning can be a maze. You need a good map and a good guide.
Well, you've definitely given us a lot to think about today. ILITs seem like they can be really useful, but it's clear you don't want to just jump into it without really thinking things through.
Absolutely not.
You need to do your research, get good advice, and make sure it fits with your overall plan.
Couldn't agree more.
So if this deep dive has got you thinking about ILITs or just estate planning in general, what should be your first step?
Reach out to a qualified financial advisor or an estate planning attorney. Start putting that dream team together and start building a plan that reflects your goals and priorities.
Yeah, it's all about taking control and making sure your legacy is protected.
Well said.
All right, that's a great place to wrap things up for today. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and take charge of your financial future.
And don't forget about that estate planning.
Definitely don't forget about that. See you next time.
See ya.
It really makes you think about, like, you really shouldn't try to do this yourself, even if you're good with, like, finances and stuff, usually.
Oh, yeah, no way. This is serious stuff, legal and tax stuff. You really need someone who knows what they're doing.
Right, exactly. And speaking of experts, Smokov mentions working with, what's it called, a registered investment advisor, or RIA.
An RIA,
Yeah. He seems to think that's really important for making sure, like, this whole ILIT thing actually works the way it's supposed to.
Oh, for sure. A good RIA, they can really dig into your finances, help you understand everything about an ILIT, and make sure it fits into your, overall estate plan.
So they're like your financial architect or something.
Yeah, kind of like that. They design a plan that works for you.
Okay, so we've talked about how ILITs can be really useful, especially for avoiding those estate taxes. But I'm wondering, are there any times when an ILIT might not be the best idea?
That's a really good point, and it goes back to why getting advice from an expert is so important. ILITs, they aren't a magic solution for everyone.
Not one size fits all.
Exactly. Like, imagine your estate is going to be under that exemption limit anyway. An ILIT might be way too complicated. You're adding all this work without really getting anything out of it.
So if you're not worried about those estate taxes, an ILIT could actually be a bad idea.
Yeah, pretty much. And there are other things to consider too. What if, later on you need to use the cash value from your life insurance? And ILIT might not work for that because, remember, it's irrevocable.
Oh, right.
Once the money's in the trust, it's stuck there.
So you really need to be sure about your long-term plan before you even start thinking about an ILIT.
Exactly. You have to weigh the good and the bad based on your own situation, your own goals. That's why having a financial advisor you can trust, someone who really gets this stuff, is so important.
They can help you figure it all out.
Yep. They can help you figure out what you need, explain the trade-offs, and steer you toward the strategy that makes the most sense for you.
Okay, so it sounds like there might be other ways to handle estate taxes, like other than ILITs. What are some of those?
Well, one thing people do is give gifts while they're still alive.
Gifts, like to their kids or family.
Exactly. There are rules about how much you can give each year without getting hit with gift taxes, so you can be smart about it and give away parts of your estate over time. That way, less of it gets taxed later on.
So you're basically lowering the amount that's taxable.
Exactly. And there are other kinds of trusts that can be helpful for estate planning, like revocable living trusts.
Revocable living trusts?
Yes. Unlike ILITs, with these trusts, you stay in control of the assets, and you can change things if you need to. They can be good for managing your stuff while you're alive and making sure it goes to the right people when you pass away.
Interesting. So there are a bunch of different options. It's not just ILITs.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole bunch of estate planning tools out there.
Like a whole toolbox.
Exactly. And usually the best approach is to combine different strategies, create a custom plan for each person. That's why having those expert advisors is so key. They can walk you through everything and help you build a plan that really works for you.
So an ILIT might be one part of the plan, but it's not the whole story.
Right. It's about looking at your whole estate, your whole financial situation, and planning for everything. An ILIT might be great for minimizing estate taxes, but it needs to be part of a bigger plan, a plan that takes care of all your financial goals and what you want to leave behind.
So it's like the more you know about estate planning, the better decisions you can make.
Absolutely.
You can protect your assets, you can take care of your family. It's all about knowledge.
Yeah, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to something as important as estate planning.
Okay, so let's say someone's listening to this and they think, an ILIT might be worth checking out. What's the first thing they should do?
The most important thing is to find a team of people you trust, people who really know their stuff.
Like building your financial dream team.
Exactly. You want a financial advisor who really understands estate planning, an estate planning lawyer to handle all the legal stuff, and maybe even a tax specialist if things are really complicated. Yep, you want to find people who can work together, look at your whole financial picture, understand what you want to do, and figure out if an ILIT is really a good fit for you.
So it's like getting advice that's specifically for you, not just, general stuff you find online or whatever.
Right, exactly. You want experts who can look at your specific situation, see what the challenges might be, and come up with a plan that's made just for you.
That makes sense. This whole deep dive has been really interesting. We've talked a lot about what ILITs are, how they can be useful, and why it's so important to get good advice.
And we've learned that ILITs aren't some kind of magic solution. They're just one tool you can use for estate planning.
Yeah, it's about finding the right combination of tools to protect your stuff and take care of your family.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up, is there anything you want to leave our listener with? Something to think about as they keep learning about estate planning?
That's a good question. I think the biggest thing for me is that estate planning, it's not just about saving money on taxes. It's about, deciding what happens to your stuff.
Your legacy.
Yeah, your legacy. It's about making sure your loved ones are taken care of and that your stuff goes where you want it to go.
It's about peace of mind, knowing that you've done everything you can to protect your family's future.
Exactly, and that peace of mind is really valuable. So, to our listener, if this deep dive has made you curious about ILITs or estate planning, take that first step. Reach out to a financial advisor or an estate planning attorney. Get your expert team together and start making a plan that reflects what's important to you.
And remember, it's never too early to start thinking about these things.
That's a great point. Until next time, keep learning, stay curious, and take charge of your financial future.
And don't forget about that estate planning.
Definitely don't forget. See you next time.
See ya.